And I am the choosing faculty, am I not? We all are the choosing faculty. As we become conscious and as we become more conscious, the choosing faculty begins to become an agent of the authentic self or evolutionary impulse versus an agent of the conditioned and unconscious ego. You follow my point? So the choosing faculty now becomes empowered by the authentic self rather than empowered by the ego. And this is how the so-called unconscious individual begins to take, through awakening to authentic self, through the cultivation of the intention to be free, that the authentic self begins to express itself through the choosing faculty. You see my point? So the law of volitionality, the second tenet of the teaching is the individual chooses to accept unconditional, means without conditions, responsibility for every single traumatic event that's happened to the self and soul essence the minute it began to individuate from the process, however long ago that's been. Okay. Now the opposite of the law of volitionality, as we see here, is the whole notion of being a victim. Right? So the thing is that the individual who takes that extraordinary heroic step as he or she identifies with the authentic self to cultivate this unprecedented level of intention for evolutionary transformation, who as a result chooses to take unconditional responsibility for everything that's happened to the self and soul essence and everything that we've done to harm others. When such an individual takes absolute and unconditional responsibility for all of it without any excuses, no matter how bad it's been, no matter how bad it's been, no matter how bad it's been, can no longer be a victim. Can no longer be a victim. I'm not denying that we've all been hurt, wounded, traumatized, and victimized. So I'm not denying anything that's true here. I'm not denying that wounds exist, and where there's a wound, there's pain, and there's memory of pain, and there's unconscious responses to those memories. So I'm not denying any. That's all true. But what I am saying is it's possible to a significant degree to take responsibility for the consequences of everything that's happened to us. It doesn't mean all that pain is going to disappear. It doesn't mean all of our unconscious reactions are going to disappear either. Of course not. That would be unrealistic. And it would be a lie. But what I'm saying is it's possible through the cultivation of the authentic intention to evolve and through the heroic decision to authentically take responsibility for our own karma, that we can become dramatically different people that really have taken responsibility for ourselves, right? That means including all of our history, that we've, to such a significant degree, that it makes that there's a radical, not a relative difference, but a radical difference, a radical transformation into the kind of person that we are. It doesn't mean we're going to behave perfectly, at all times, in all places, or all circumstances. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be moments of forgetfulness or unconsciousness or whatever. It's not going to be perfect, but there's going to be an extraordinary difference. Not a small difference, a really big difference. See my point? So this is the step from the personal to the impersonal. This is if you want to understand what I'm talking about. It's a big deal. It's not a small thing. So what I'm saying is, remember, please keep in mind that, once again, as I said a few minutes ago, the distinction I made the other day, which is the authentic intention versus the authentic intention versus the intention that isn't authentic. The one is where you think you want to do it, but you really don't intend to, versus the one where you actually do intend to, and you will. Because you do. People who intend to change. People who don't intend to don't change. And it's just that simple. Why? It's not because of karma. It's not because of past traumas. In the end, it's because the thing is, we all have to be ready now, isn't it? That's from the perspective of evolution and evolutionary crisis, so to speak. Time's up. I mean, once you get it and you really get it, that's it. In other words, from a certain point of view, and some people I know find this kind of harsh, a time does come, ladies and gentlemen, in adult life when kind of time's up. If you don't reach that point in your own adult development where time is up, then you're just playing a game. Because there has to be some, why don't you decide when that moment is? Don't let me decide for you. But all of you should decide, when does the moment come in your adult life, when time is up? At which point do you have to make the transition we spoke about day before yesterday from adolescent to adult human being? So whenever that point comes, and you decide, right? You decide when that point comes. But that point does have to come, if you're interested in the evolution of consciousness, when we take that leap from adolescent to mature human. But the problem for so many of us, in this postmodern psychologically oriented, alienated self, is that point never comes. We don't even think about it coming. But just think about it today. When does the point come when you have to just stop and grow up? You say, well, I'm not ready yet. Well, when are you going to be ready? I mean, what is it that makes somebody ready, actually? What is it? Things never work out the way you want them to in life. Things never work out the way you want them to, the way you imagine them to be. Life is very unpredictable. Sometimes awful things happen which you didn't expect, and other times wonderful, extraordinary, marvelous things happen that we didn't expect also. Things can go terribly wrong quite often. Once in a while, things can go expectedly better than we could have ever possibly imagined. Believe me, if you are not willing to take responsibility for your own karma in the way that I'm speaking about, in a really way that's unconditional, you're not going to be ready for when something really great happens. And most people I meet, they're not ready for the kind of glory that I'm talking about because they're not willing to take responsibility for their own karma. You have to be willing to take responsibility for yourself in order to make this world a truly extraordinary place.